Hey guys, tonight we're diving headfirst into a time warp. Imagine waking up, not in your comfy bed with the memory foam mattress that costs more than your car payment, but on the cold, damp ground of a medieval village. Yeah, no phone, no Starbucks, just the pungent aroma of unwashed bodies and something vaguely resembling stew. And trust me, you probably won't survive this. You think navigating rush hour traffic is tough? Try dodging a night on horseback while wearing wooden shoes. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments below. I'm always curious where my little time travelers are tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You jolt awake. The ground is hard, cold, and smells faintly of manure. Definitely not the lavender-scented sheets you're used to. Disoriented, you sit up, rubbing the sleep from your eyes. The world swims into focus, rough-hewn wooden buildings, chickens pecking at the dirt, and people who look like they've stepped out of a history textbook. Linen clothes, muddy boots, and a general air of bewildered suspicion directed squarely at you. Panic begins to bubble in your chest. Where are you? How did you get here? The last thing you remember is binge-watching historical documentaries, ironic, right, and falling asleep. This can't be real. You must be dreaming. You try to pinch yourself, but the skin of your arm feels different. Coarser, somehow. You glance down at your clothes. Gone are your comfy pajamas, replaced by a simple, scratchy tunic and trousers. Are those wooden clogs on your feet? A woman with a weathered face and a wary gaze approaches. Are you all right, stranger? She asks, her voice thick with an accent you can't quite place. Old English, maybe? Or something even older? Linguists still argue about the exact dialect spoken in specific medieval regions. You try to speak, but your voice catches in your throat. Where am I? You manage to croak out, the question sounding absurd even to your own ears. The woman's eyebrows furrow. Why, you're in Oak Haven, of course. Have you lost your wits? Oak Haven? You've never heard of it. And judging by the lack of paved roads, electricity, or any semblance of modern technology, you're pretty sure this isn't Kansas anymore. You're not in Kansas at all. You begin to suspect that documentary binge may have had some unintended consequences. Like, say, flinging you back through time. You attempt to stand, but your legs feel weak and unsteady. You stumble, and the woman reaches out to steady you. Her touch is surprisingly strong, calloused and firm. Easy now, she says. You look like you've seen a ghost. You probably have seen a ghost, or will shortly become one, given the odds of a modern person surviving in medieval conditions. Sanitation was, shall we say, not a high priority. The Black Death, which you'll soon learn all about, was only a few centuries away. You take a deep breath, trying to calm your racing heart. Okay, think. You're in a medieval village. You have memories of a completely different life. And everyone is staring at you like you've sprouted a second head. Time to assess the situation and, more importantly, figure out how to not get burned at the stake for being a weirdo. That tanning booth you enjoyed weekly might make you look like a demon in this place. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen they used back in the ancient world? Maybe you should have tried that out, because pale skin is about to become your greatest asset. Your initial bewilderment quickly morphs into a desperate attempt to blend in, which, of course, only makes you stand out even more. Every word you speak, every gesture you make, seems to confirm their suspicions that you are, well, different star. And in a time when different often equated to dangerous, that's not a good thing. You try to explain your confusion, but the words come out jumbled and nonsensical. You talk about cars, airplanes, the internet, concepts that are utterly foreign to these people. They exchange worried glances, muttering about curses and the devil's influence. Remember, this is a time when people genuinely believed in witches, demons, and all sorts of supernatural shenanigans. The line between reality and superstition was blurrier than a Monet painting. She speaks in tongues, a man with a thick beard and suspicious eyes declares, pointing a gnarled finger at you. Must be possessed. Possessed? You exclaim, your voice rising in panic. I'm not possessed. I'm just confused. You realize immediately that this isn't helping. Confused by the beauty of your village, you stammer, desperately trying to recover. The man's eyes narrow. Beauty? This is a hard life, stranger. There is little beauty to be found in labor and toil. And he's right, of course. Medieval peasant life was no picnic. Historians estimate that the average lifespan was somewhere in the ballpark of 30 years. Of course, that average was heavily skewed by infant mortality. If you made it past childhood, you had a decent chance of living into your 40s or even 50s. Still, not exactly retirement age. You try a different tack. I traveled a long way, you say, hoping to appeal to their sense of empathy. I'm weary and my memories are clouded. The woman who helped you earlier steps forward. Perhaps she has suffered a blow to the head, she suggests, her voice softer than the others. She seems harmless enough. Harmless? You? You once accidentally set your microwave on fire trying to cook popcorn. You are the definition of harmless. Relatively. But the damage is done. The whispers have started, and they're growing louder. Witchcraft, someone mutters. She has the devil in her eyes. You suppress a groan. Witchcraft accusations were no joke in the Middle Ages. People were burned at the stake for far less than claiming to have seen a metal bird fly across the sky. It was a dark time to have any strange knowledge, as those accused were often killed. You know you need to be careful. Every word, every action, will be scrutinized. You have to learn to speak their language, understand their customs, and somehow convince them that you're not a threat. Easier said than done when you're pretty sure you just accidentally used the word internet in a village where most people can't even read. You decide to play it dumb, emphasizing your supposed amnesia. I remember nothing, you say, feigning a look of confusion. Please, help me. I am lost and afraid. It's a calculated risk, but it seems to work. The villagers, though still wary, seem slightly less hostile. Maybe, just maybe, you can buy yourself some time. Time to figure out how to survive in this strange, unfamiliar world. And, more importantly, time to figure out how to avoid a fiery death. You start feeling a little homesick for that microwave fire. Just when you thought you might have averted immediate disaster, a glimmer of hope appears in the form of the village healer. She's an older woman, even more weathered than the others, with eyes that seem to hold centuries of secrets. She's known simply as Ilara, and she carries herself with an air of quiet authority that even the most suspicious villagers seem to respect. Ilara observes you from a distance, her gaze sharp and assessing. She watches how you move, how you react to the villagers, how you struggle with the unfamiliar surroundings. You try your best to appear normal, but you know she sees through your charade. It's like she's looking straight into your soul, which is slightly terrifying. After what feels like an eternity, Ilara approaches you, pushing through the crowd of onlookers. "Leave her be," she says, her voice surprisingly strong for her age. She is weary and needs rest. The villagers, surprisingly, obey. They may suspect you of witchcraft, but they clearly respect Ilara's judgment. She leads you to a small, humble hut on the edge of the village. It's sparsely furnished, with a simple straw mattress and a rough wooden table. But it's a haven compared to the open scrutiny of the village square. "Rest here," Ilara says, gesturing towards the mattress. "You are safe for now." You sink gratefully onto the straw, feeling the tension drain from your body. "Thank you," you say, your voice filled with genuine gratitude. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Ilara nods, her eyes still fixed on you. "I see something different in you," she says, her voice low and thoughtful. "Something ancient. Something out of place." You freeze. Has she figured you out? Is she going to denounce you as a heretic? Or worse, an alien? "I don't understand," you say, feigning ignorance. "I am but a simple traveler." Ilara smiles, a knowing, almost cryptic smile. "Do not play coy with me, child. I have seen more than you can imagine. I know you are not who you claim to be." Okay, so much for playing dumb. You decide to try a more direct approach. "Then who do you think I am?" you ask, your heart pounding in your chest. Ilara pauses, considering her words carefully. "That is for you to discover," she says finally. "But I will tell you this, you have a purpose here. A destiny to fulfill." "A destiny? You? You always thought your destiny involved a comfortable retirement and maybe a small dog. Now you're supposed to be some kind of medieval chosen one? What kind of destiny?" you ask, your voice trembling slightly. Ilara shrugs. "The future is not written in stone," she says. "It is a river, constantly flowing, constantly changing. You have the power to shape that river. But be warned, the currents are strong, and the path is treacherous." She then gives you some cryptic advice, something about trusting your instincts, embracing the unknown, and avoiding leeches at all costs. Apparently, medieval medicine wasn't exactly cutting edge. Historians still debate the effectiveness of many medieval medical practices. Let's just say you're glad you packed your ibuprofen. Before leaving, Ilara gives you a small pouch filled with herbs. "These will help you sleep," she says. "And perhaps unlock your memories." You thank her again, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the confusion and fear. Maybe, just maybe, you can figure this whole thing out. Maybe you can survive this medieval nightmare. And maybe, just maybe, you can even find your way back home. Ilara's cryptic words echo in your mind as you settle into your humble new abode. The herbs she gave you do indeed help you sleep, though your dreams are filled with strange, fragmented images, skyscrapers crumbling, metal birds falling from the sky, and a blinding flash of light. You wake up exhausted, but with a slightly clearer sense of purpose. You need to learn how to survive. The first few days are brutal. You quickly realize that your modern muscles are no match for the physical demands of medieval peasant life. Your attempts at gardening are met with laughter and pity from the other villagers. Your first time trying to milk a cow ends with you covered in milk and the cow looking deeply unimpressed. And don't even get you started on trying to chop wood. You're pretty sure you nearly took off your own foot. You're holding the axe wrong, a young boy named Thomas says, watching you struggle. Here, let me show you. Thomas, despite being barely old enough to shave, handles the axe with a skill and ease that you can only dream of. He patiently demonstrates the proper technique, showing you how to grip the handle, how to position your body, and how to swing with controlled power. It takes hours of practice, but eventually, you start to get the hang of it. Your muscles ache, your hands are blistered, and you're pretty sure you've developed a permanent crick in your neck, but you manage to split a few logs without maiming yourself. Progress. But physical labor is only half the battle. You also need to learn the social customs and expectations of the village. You quickly discover that privacy is a luxury you can no longer afford. Everyone knows everyone else's business, and gossip spreads like wildfire. You have to be careful what you say and who you say it to. You also need to learn the local economy. Money is scarce, and most transactions are done through bartering. You offer to help with chores in exchange for food and supplies. You learn to weave baskets, mend clothes, and even brew a passable batch of ale, though you suspect the villagers are just being polite when they say it's good. One thing you do have going for you is your knowledge of basic hygiene. You remember all those times your mom nagged you about washing your hands? Turns out, that's a life-saving skill in the Middle Ages. You encourage the villagers to wash their hands before meals and to boil their water to prevent illness. They may think you're a bit eccentric, but they can't deny that your methods seem to work. Slowly but surely, you begin to adapt. You learn to speak the local dialect, understand the local customs, and even find a certain satisfaction in the simple, repetitive rhythm of peasant life. You're still an outsider, but you're no longer a complete stranger. You're starting to build a life for yourself in this strange, new world. And you're starting to feel like you might actually survive. Just try to avoid the plague, okay? As you settle into the routines of village life, you start to notice something strange, whispers. Not the usual gossip and rumors that circulate through Oak Haven, but hushed conversations that stop abruptly when you approach. You catch snippets of phrases like the stranger, the prophecy, and the one who will change everything. At first, you dismiss it as paranoia. After all, you're still the odd one out, the stranger who arrived with no past and a suspicious amount of knowledge about things they shouldn't know. But the whispers persist, growing louder and more frequent. You can feel the villagers watching you, their eyes filled with a mixture of fear and anticipation. One evening, while drawing water from the well, you overhear two women talking in hushed tones. Have you heard? One of them says. They say she's the one from the prophecy. The prophecy, the other woman replies, her voice laced with skepticism. Don't be ridiculous. That old wives' tale? No one believes in that anymore. But what if it's true? The first woman insists. What if she's the one who will save us from the darkness? You freeze, your heart pounding in your chest. A prophecy? Are they talking about you? Is this some kind of elaborate medieval joke? You're pretty sure you're not qualified to save anyone from anything, especially not a vague and ominous darkness. The prophecy, as you later learn, is an old legend that has been passed down through generations of Oak Haven villagers. It speaks of a stranger who will arrive from a distant land, possessing knowledge and skills beyond their understanding. This stranger will either lead them to salvation or bring about their ultimate destruction. No pressure. Historians love to analyze the prevalence and impact of prophecies in medieval culture. They were often used to justify political actions, inspire religious fervor, or simply provide hope in times of hardship. The existence of prophecies implies that some people thought the future was unchangeable, fated, which is pretty depressing. You try to dismiss the prophecy as superstitious nonsense, but the more you think about it, the more it seems to fit. You are a stranger from a distant land. You do possess knowledge and skills beyond their understanding. Hello, indoor plumbing. And whether you lead them to salvation or destruction, well, that remains to be seen. You decide to confront Elara, the village healer, about the prophecy. She's the only one who seems to know anything about what's going on. You find her in her hut, tending to her herbs. Elara, you say, your voice trembling slightly. I've been hearing rumors about a prophecy. They say it's about me. Elara sighs, her eyes filled with weariness. So, the whispers have reached you, she says. I had hoped to keep it from you for a while longer. Is it true, you ask? Am I the one from the prophecy? Elara hesitates for a moment, then nods slowly. Yes, she says. You are the one they speak of. You feel a chill run down your spine. This is getting serious. This isn't just about surviving anymore. It's about fulfilling some ancient, predetermined destiny. And you have absolutely no idea what you're supposed to do. Talk about an existential crisis. The weight of the prophecy settles heavily on your shoulders. You're not a hero, you're not a savior. You're just a regular person who accidentally time-traveled to the Middle Ages. How are you supposed to live up to these impossible expectations? As if on cue, a messenger arrives in the village, bearing a summons from Lord Alaric, the local lord. He requests your presence at his castle, situated a few miles away, to discuss your unique qualities. The messenger, a burly man with a stern face, eyes you with suspicion. The lord wishes to see you immediately, he says, his voice leaving no room for argument. Prepare yourself for the journey. The news spreads through the village like wildfire. Some villagers are excited, believing that Lord Alaric will recognize your special abilities and use them to benefit the community. Others are terrified, fearing that he will see you as a threat and imprison you, or worse. You're starting to feel like a medieval celebrity, and not in a good way. You seek out Elara for advice. What should I do, you ask, your voice filled with anxiety. Should I go to the castle? What if Lord Alaric wants to hurt me? Elara considers your question carefully. You have no choice but to go, she says. To refuse would be seen as an act of defiance. But do not be afraid. Lord Alaric is a wise man, though perhaps a little too fond of his own power. Be respectful, be truthful, but do not reveal too much. Let him see what he wants to see. Easier said than done. You're not exactly known for your poker face. Especially when you're trying to explain the concept of a smartphone to someone who thinks the earth is flat. The journey to the castle is long and arduous. You travel on foot, accompanied by the stern messenger. The landscape is beautiful, but you're too preoccupied with worry to appreciate it. You imagine all sorts of terrible scenarios, being interrogated, tortured, or even thrown into a dungeon. You start regretting that second helping of stew last night. Dungeons are never comfortable. Finally, you arrive at the castle. It's a massive stone structure, looming over the surrounding countryside. The walls are thick, the towers are imposing, and the whole place reeks of power and intimidation. you feel a knot tighten in your stomach. This is it. You're led through a maze of corridors and courtyards, past heavily armed guards and elegantly dressed nobles. The contrast between the simple village life you've grown accustomed to and the opulent grandeur of the castle is jarring. You feel like you've stepped into a different world. You're finally brought before Lord Alaric. He's a tall, imposing man with a stern face and piercing blue eyes. He sits on a massive throne, surrounded by his advisors and guards. He surveys you with a cold, calculating gaze. So, he says, his voice deep and resonant. You are the stranger who has caused such a stir in my village. You bow your head respectfully. Yes, my lord, you say, trying to keep your voice steady. I am. I have heard many things about you, Lord Alaric continues. Some say you are a miracle worker. Others say you are a sorceress. Which is it? You take a deep breath, remembering Ilara's advice. Be truthful, but don't reveal too much. I am neither, my lord, you say. I am simply a traveler, lost and far from home. You're pretty sure you're underselling yourself, but maybe that's the point. Being summoned to the Lord's castle is like stepping into a medieval soap opera. Forget the chickens and the manure, you are now surrounded by silk gowns, polished armor, and enough political intrigue to make your head spin. It's basically Game of Thrones, but with slightly less gratuitous violence, so far. Lord Alaric's court is a swirling vortex of ambition, gossip, and hidden agendas. Everyone is vying for his attention, trying to curry favor, or plotting against their rivals. It's like a high school cafeteria, but with swords and chainmail. You quickly learn that navigating this complex social landscape is just as challenging as learning to chop wood. You have to be careful who you trust, what you say, and how you act. One wrong move could land you in serious trouble. You know, beyond the already serious trouble of being a suspected witch in the Middle Ages. Lord Alaric keeps you at the castle for several days, observing you, questioning you, and testing your knowledge. He seems fascinated by your strange stories and your unusual perspective. He asks you about everything from the workings of the cosmos to the best way to brew ale. Apparently, he's a connoisseur. You try to be as vague as possible, avoiding any details that might reveal your true origins. You talk about your homeland as a distant, mythical place filled with wonders and strange customs. You sprinkle in enough historical inaccuracies to keep them guessing, but not enough to raise suspicion. It's a delicate balancing act. You discover that Lord Alaric is a complex man. He's intelligent, shrewd, and deeply concerned about the welfare of his people. But he's also arrogant, ambitious, and prone to fits of temper. He rules his domain with an iron fist, and he tolerates no dissent. He also has a weakness for flattery. You quickly learn to play to his ego, praising his wisdom, his strength, and his just rule. It feels a little slimy, but it seems to work. He starts to see you as a valuable asset, someone who can offer him a fresh perspective and perhaps even help him achieve his ambitions. You also make a few allies at court. Lady Isolde, a kind and intelligent woman who is Lord Alaric's sister, takes a liking to you. She's curious about your stories and seems genuinely interested in your well-being. She becomes your confidant, offering you advice and protection. Then there's Sir Cailan, a young and idealistic knight who is disillusioned with the corruption and cynicism of the court. He sees something genuine in you and becomes your friend. He also provides you with valuable information about the political machinations of the castle. But for every ally, there are also enemies. Lord Valerus, a powerful and ambitious nobleman, sees you as a threat to his position. He distrusts your influence over Lord Alaric and suspects you of having ulterior motives. He starts spreading rumors about you, trying to undermine your credibility and turn the Lord against you. You realize that you're caught in a dangerous game. You're surrounded by powerful people with hidden agendas, and you're just a pawn in their schemes. You need to be careful, strategic, and always one step ahead of your enemies. Survival in the Middle Ages wasn't just about avoiding the plague, it was also about surviving the politics of the court. And you thought your office job was stressful. Lord Alaric, still intrigued by your supposed wisdom, decides to put you to the test. He gathers his court and presents you with a series of riddles and challenges, designed to assess your intelligence, your knowledge, and your ability to BS your way through a medieval interrogation. The first challenge is a riddle: what has an eye, but cannot see? You pause, racking your brain. You vaguely remember something about riddles being popular in medieval times. It was like their version of Sudoku, except with more potential for public humiliation. You could blurt out the wrong answer and be branded an idiot in front of the entire court. Thinking quickly, you remember a similar riddle from a book you read. "A needle, my lord," you reply confidently. Lord Alaric smiles, impressed. "Correct," he says. "But do not think it will be so easy from here on out." The next challenge is more difficult. He presents you with a complex philosophical question about the nature of good and evil. You realize this isn't just a test of your knowledge, it's a test of your values. You need to answer carefully, avoiding any statements that might be construed as heretical or subversive. You draw on your knowledge of philosophy and theology, carefully crafting an answer that is both intelligent and innocuous. You talk about the importance of balance, the inherent goodness of creation, and the need for compassion and understanding. Lord Alaric listens intently, his eyes narrowed in thought. When you finish, he nods slowly. "Well spoken," he says. "But words are cheap. Let us see if you can back them up with action." He then presents you with a practical challenge to solve a dispute between two feuding merchants. The merchants are arguing over a shipment of wool, each claiming that the other has cheated them. You listen to both sides of the story, carefully weighing the evidence. You realize that neither merchant is entirely innocent. They're both trying to take advantage of each other. You need to find a solution that is fair to both parties, without alienating either of them. You propose a compromise: the merchants will split the wool equally, and each will pay a small sum to a local charity. This solution satisfies both merchants, and Lord Alaric is impressed by your ability to mediate the dispute. But the final challenge is the most daunting. Lord Alaric asks you about your past. He wants to know where you come from, who your parents are, and why you came to Oakhaven. This is the moment of truth. You can't lie, but you can't tell the whole truth either. You need to find a way to explain your presence without revealing your true origins. You tell a carefully crafted story about a distant land, a land of great wonders and terrible dangers. You talk about your journey, your struggles, and your hopes for the future. You omit any details that might reveal your true identity, focusing instead on your desire to find peace and purpose in this new world. As you speak, you notice Lord Alaric's expression softening. He seems to be moved by your story. When you finish, he remains silent for a moment, then nods slowly. "I believe you," he says. "I believe that you are who you say you are." You breathe a sigh of relief. You've passed the test. You've convinced Lord Alaric that you're not a threat. But you know that this is just the beginning. you still have to navigate the treacherous waters of the court, avoid your enemies, and somehow fulfill the prophecy that hangs over your head. Just when you thought you were making progress, a dark cloud descends upon the land, both literally and figuratively. Whispers of the Inquisition, a powerful religious tribunal dedicated to rooting out heresy, begin to circulate through the villages and towns. Fear grips the hearts of the people as the threat of persecution looms large. You remember learning about the Inquisition in history class. It was a period of intense religious fervor and paranoia, where people were accused of heresy for the slightest deviation from orthodox beliefs. Torture was commonplace, and executions were public spectacles. It was a dark and terrifying time. You realize that your situation has just become a whole lot more precarious. You're already suspected of witchcraft, and now you have to worry about being accused of heresy as well. You need to be extra careful about what you say and do, avoiding any behavior that might be interpreted as questioning the authority of the church. You confide in Lady Isolde, telling her about your fears. She listens patiently, then offers you some advice. The Inquisition is a powerful force, she says. But it is not invincible. There are ways to protect yourself. Be devout, be charitable, and above all, be discreet. Do not draw attention to yourself. Easier said than done, considering you're the mysterious stranger everyone is whispering about. You start attending church regularly, participating in religious rituals, and making generous donations to the poor. You even try to learn some Latin, the language of the church, though your pronunciation is atrocious. You're basically trying to blend in as much as possible, hoping to avoid the attention of the inquisitors. But you can feel their presence growing stronger. They send spies into the villages, disguised as monks or merchants, to gather information and identify potential heretics. You see them lurking in the shadows, listening to conversations, and observing the behavior of the people. One day, you're approached by a stern-faced man in a black robe. He introduces himself as Brother Thomas, a representative of the Inquisition. He asks you a series of questions about your beliefs, your practices, and your knowledge of religious texts. You answer carefully, trying to sound as orthodox as possible. You quote scripture, recite prayers, and profess your unwavering faith in God. You even throw in a few subtle jabs at your enemies, suggesting that they might be harboring heretical thoughts. Brother Thomas listens intently, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. When you finish, he nods slowly. Your words are pleasing, he says. But actions speak louder than words. We will be watching you. You feel a chill run down your spine. You know that you're being scrutinized, judged, and potentially condemned. You're living in a constant state of fear, knowing that one wrong move could cost you your life. You realize that you can't just sit back and wait for the Inquisition to come for you. You need to take action to protect yourself and the people you care about. You need to find a way to fight back against the forces of darkness. But how? You're just one person with no power, no influence, and no real understanding of the complex politics of the church. It's a daunting task, but you know that you have no choice. Your survival, and the survival of everyone you care about, depends on it. The world is a scary place when someone could point a finger and kill you for your thoughts. Amidst the growing fear and uncertainty, you find an unexpected source of comfort and strength: love. You develop a close relationship with Sir Cailan, the young knight who befriended you at court. He's kind, compassionate, and fiercely loyal. And, let's be honest, he's also incredibly handsome. Your feelings for Cailan deepen as you spend more time together. You share your fears and your hopes, your dreams and your doubts. You find solace in his presence, knowing that you're not alone in this dangerous world. And he seems to feel the same way about you. Of course, a relationship between a suspected witch and a noble knight is hardly a match made in heaven. It's a risky alliance, one that could have serious consequences for both of you. But you can't deny your feelings. You're drawn to Kaelan like a moth to a flame. One evening, while taking a walk in the castle gardens, Kaelan confesses his feelings for you. "I know it's wrong," he says, his voice filled with emotion. "But I can't help myself. I'm in love with you." You look into his eyes and see the truth reflected there. You feel a surge of happiness, but also a sense of dread. This could end badly. Very badly. "I love you too, Kaelan," you say, your voice trembling slightly. "But we have to be careful. Our relationship could put both of us in danger." Kaelan nods, understanding. "I know," he says. "But I'm willing to take the risk. I can't imagine my life without you." You embrace, sealing your love with a kiss. It's a moment of pure bliss, a brief respite from the darkness that surrounds you. But you know that the happiness can't last forever. Sooner or later, your relationship will be discovered, and you'll have to face the consequences. In the meantime, you and Kaelan form a powerful alliance. He uses his influence at court to protect you from your enemies, while you use your knowledge and skills to help him achieve his goals. Together, you become a force to be reckoned with. You start working together to undermine the Inquisition, gathering evidence of their corruption and abuse of power. You expose their lies, reveal their secrets, and turn the people against them. It's a dangerous game, but you're determined to fight for justice and freedom. You also use your knowledge of the future to help Kaelan advance his career. You advise him on military strategy, political tactics, and economic policies. He quickly rises through the ranks, becoming one of Lord Alaric's most trusted advisors. Your relationship with Kaelan gives you strength and courage. You're no longer just a stranger in a strange land. You're part of something bigger, something more important than yourself. You're fighting for love, for justice, and for a better future. And even if you don't survive, maybe your memory will. Just as you begin to feel a glimmer of hope, a devastating catastrophe strikes, the Black Death. The plague, carried by fleas on rats, sweeps across Europe, leaving a trail of death and destruction in its wake. It's like a medieval zombie apocalypse, but with more pustules and fewer brains. Oakhaven is not spared. The disease spreads rapidly through the village, infecting young and old, rich and poor. People start dying in droves, their bodies covered in black boils, their lungs filled with fluid. The stench of death hangs heavy in the air. It's a grim reminder that your knowledge of the future can't protect you from everything. Panic grips the village. People flee their homes, abandoning their families and their possessions. They desperately seek refuge in the forests and mountains, hoping to escape the plague. But the disease follows them, spreading even further. You remember learning about the Black Death in history class. It was one of the deadliest pandemics in human history, wiping out an estimated 30 to 60% of Europe's population. It had a profound impact on society, leading to economic collapse, social upheaval, and religious reform. You realize that you can't just stand by and watch as Oakhaven is destroyed. You have to do something to help. You use your knowledge of medicine and sanitation to combat the plague. You encourage the villagers to quarantine the infected, to wash their hands regularly, and to burn the bodies of the dead. You know that these measures won't completely stop the spread of the disease, but they might slow it down. And in a time of desperation, any little bit helps. You also start experimenting with herbal remedies, drawing on your knowledge of modern medicine and your understanding of medieval folklore. You concoct a mixture of garlic, onions, and vinegar, which you believe might have some antibacterial properties. You distribute the mixture to the villagers, encouraging them to drink it regularly. Some of the villagers are skeptical, but others are desperate enough to try anything. To your surprise, the mixture seems to have some effect. People who drink it seem to be less likely to contract the plague, or at least to suffer less severe symptoms. Of course, it could just be a placebo effect, but in a time of crisis, even a placebo can be a powerful tool. You work tirelessly day and night, tending to the sick, comforting the dying, and burying the dead. You're exhausted, both physically and emotionally. But you can't afford to give up. You know that the fate of Oak Haven rests in your hands. Kalen helps you in any way he can. He organizes the villagers, enforces the quarantine, and distributes supplies. He's a natural leader, inspiring hope and courage in the face of despair. Together, you become a beacon of light in the darkness. But even your best efforts can't stop the plague from taking its toll. People you care about start to die, friends, neighbors, and even members of your own makeshift family. You feel a sense of grief and loss that is almost unbearable. Is this your fault? The Black Death continues its relentless march through Oak Haven, leaving a landscape of despair and death. You work tirelessly, using your knowledge of the future to mitigate the devastation, but the sheer scale of the tragedy is overwhelming. You start to feel a profound sense of hopelessness, wondering if anything you do can truly make a difference. One night, after a particularly grueling day of tending to the sick, you collapse in exhaustion. As you drift off to sleep, you experience a strange and vivid dream. You see yourself standing in a vast, empty field, under a sky filled with swirling stars. Suddenly, a figure appears before you. It's a being of pure light, radiating warmth and compassion. The figure speaks to you, not in words, but in thoughts and feelings. It shows you visions of the future, a future far beyond the medieval world you're currently inhabiting. You see cities filled with towering skyscrapers, cars zipping along paved roads, and airplanes soaring through the sky. You see people communicating instantly across vast distances, using devices that fit in the palm of their hand. You see medical advancements that can cure diseases that are currently ravaging the population. But you also see the dark side of the future: pollution, war, poverty, and social inequality. You see the potential for both great good and great evil. The figure tells you that the future is not fixed. It is a tapestry woven from countless choices, each one shaping the course of history. You have the power to influence that tapestry, to steer humanity towards a better future. But you also have the power to lead it down a path of destruction. The figure then shows you a vision of your own life, both the life you remember and the life you're currently living. You see the impact you've had on the people of Oak Haven, the lives you've saved, and the hope you've inspired. The figure tells you that your presence in the Middle Ages is not an accident. You were sent here for a reason, to learn and to grow, to experience the challenges and triumphs of a different time. You have a purpose to fulfill, a destiny to embrace. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the figure vanishes, leaving you alone in the vast, empty field. You wake up with a start, your heart pounding in your chest. The dream feels incredibly real, more real than anything you've ever experienced. You're not sure what to make of it. Was it just a dream, a product of your fevered imagination? Or was it something more, a glimpse into the future, a message from a higher power? Either way, the dream has a profound impact on you. It gives you a renewed sense of purpose, a renewed sense of hope. You realize that you're not just fighting to survive, you're fighting for the future of humanity. And you're definitely not alone. The vision, whether a dream or a genuine glimpse of timelines to come, reignites your spirit. The plague still rages, but you feel a surge of determination to make the most of your presence in this era. You're faced with a difficult choice. Do you fully embrace your new life in the Middle Ages, or do you continue to search for a way back to your own time? On one hand, you've built a life for yourself in Oakhaven. You have friends, allies, and a love with Cailan that transcends time and circumstance. You've made a difference in the lives of the villagers, helping them to survive the plague and combat the forces of darkness. You belong here, in a way that you never belonged in your old life. But on the other hand, you miss your old life. You miss the convenience of modern technology, the comfort of your own home, and the familiarity of your own culture. You miss your family and friends, and you wonder if you'll ever see them again. You also feel a responsibility to share your knowledge of the future with the world. You believe that you could use your insights to prevent future tragedies, to promote progress, and to create a better world for everyone. You discuss your dilemma with Cailan. He listens patiently, then offers his advice. The choice is yours to make, he says. But I will support you no matter what you decide. If you choose to stay, I will be by your side, fighting for our future. And if you choose to leave, I will help you find your way back home. His words are comforting, but they don't make the decision any easier. You realize that there is no right or wrong answer. It's simply a matter of choosing the path that feels right for you. You spend several days in contemplation, weighing the pros and cons of each option. You meditate, pray, and seek guidance from Ilara. But ultimately, the decision rests with you. Finally, you come to a conclusion. You decide that you can't abandon the people of Oakhaven, not while they're still suffering from the plague. You choose to stay, to continue fighting for their survival, and to help them rebuild their lives. But you also resolve to continue searching for a way back to your own time. You believe that you can make a difference in both worlds, using your knowledge of the future to shape a better future for everyone. You share your decision with Cailan, and he embraces you with tears in his eyes. He's relieved that you're staying, but he also understands your desire to return home. He promises to help you in any way he can. Together, you embark on a new journey, a journey that will take you to the far corners of the world, seeking answers, knowledge, and a way to bridge the gap between the past and the future. You know it won't be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Years pass. The Black Death eventually subsides, leaving Oakhaven scarred but not broken. You and Cailan work tirelessly to rebuild the village, implementing new sanitation practices, promoting education, and fostering a spirit of community. Slowly but surely, Oakhaven begins to thrive once more, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. You become a legend in your own time, known throughout the land as the wise woman who saved Oakhaven from the plague. People come from far and wide to seek your advice, your healing touch, and your prophetic insights. You use your knowledge of the future to improve the lives of the people, introducing new agricultural techniques, promoting technological innovation, and advocating for social justice. You become a force for progress, a catalyst for change. Cailan rises to become Lord of Oakhaven, ruling with wisdom, compassion, and a strong sense of justice. He implements many of the reforms that you've suggested, creating a more equitable and prosperous society. Together, you and Kaelin create a haven of peace and progress in a world still mired in superstition and violence. Oak Haven becomes a beacon of hope, a symbol of what is possible when people work together for the common good. But even as you celebrate your successes, you never forget your original goal, to find a way back to your own time. You continue to search for clues, to study ancient texts, and to consult with mystics and scholars. One day, you stumble upon an ancient artifact, a mysterious amulet that seems to resonate with your own energy. You realize that this amulet may be the key to unlocking the secrets of time travel. You and Kaelin embark on a final journey, traveling to a remote and forgotten corner of the world, where you believe the gateway to your own time may be located. You reach a hidden cave, deep within a mountain range. Inside the cave, you find a swirling vortex of energy, a shimmering portal that seems to lead to another dimension. You know that this is your chance. You can step through the portal and return to your own time, leaving behind everything you've built in Oak Haven. Or you can stay, continuing to fight for the future of this world, but sacrificing your chance to ever see your family and friends again. You turn to Kaelin, tears streaming down your face. "I don't know what to do," you say. "I love you, but I also miss my old life. I don't know if I can leave you." Kaelin takes your hand, his eyes filled with love and understanding. "I know," he says. "But you have to follow your heart. If your heart tells you to go back, then you must go. I will always remember you, and I will always love you." You embrace one last time, a moment of profound love and sorrow. Then, with a deep breath, you step through the portal, leaving behind the man you love, the world you've helped to shape, and the legacy you've created. Wind down section, approximate 300 words, the portal shimmers and fades behind you, leaving you standing in, well, you're not entirely sure where you are. The air feels different, cleaner, somehow. The smells are unfamiliar, a mix of exhaust fumes and something vaguely floral. You look around, your eyes wide with wonder and a touch of apprehension. It's jarring, isn't it? After all that time adapting to a world without electricity, without cars, without the internet, you're suddenly thrust back into the 21st century, or wherever you've landed. The sights, the sounds, the sheer sensory overload of modern life can be overwhelming. Give yourself a moment to breathe. Close your eyes. Remember the feel of the rough-spun fabric against your skin, the scent of wood smoke in the air, the sound of Kaelin's laughter echoing through the castle halls. Hold on to those memories, let them ground you as you navigate this strange, new, or perhaps old, world. You've learned so much, haven't you? You've learned about resilience, about love, about the importance of community. You've learned that even in the darkest of times, hope can still flicker, and that even one person can make a difference. And as you drift off to sleep tonight, remember the lessons you've learned on your medieval adventure. Let them guide you, inspire you, and remind you that even in this chaotic, modern world, you have the power to shape your own destiny. So, rest now, and dream sweetly.